7 ways to grow profitably when hiring is hard. I want you to picture something with me for a second. You know the Beverly Hillbillies, Jed Clampett shooting at some food, and up from the ground comes a bubbling crude. Oil, Texas tea, black gold. He goes from broke to Beverly Hills almost overnight, and he didn't create any of that value. He just found what was already there. Here's the question I've been thinking about for 30 years. Who sold Jed that land? Because somebody sold him that property as farmland for a few $100, and the oil was already under the ground. They were standing on it. They just didn't know it. I have done operational diligence on more than 500 private companies, and I'm telling you, 98% of the time, the owner is Jed's neighbor. They're standing on value they haven't found yet. And today, I want to show you 7 specific ways that value is hiding in your business right now, especially when hiring is hard. Because here's the thing, the number one thing I hear from business owners right now is some version of this. Tim, I could grow if I could just find the people. I hear you, that's real. But I want to push back on the assumption underneath that statement. Most businesses are not running out of capacity. They're running out of accessible capacity. And those are 2 completely different problems. One costs you a lot of money to solve. The other costs you some time and some curiosity, and the payoff can be shocking. So let's get into it. Number 1, get on the floor and find out where your people's time is actually going. Not where you think it's going, where it's actually going. I call this going to Gemba, getting to the actual place where the work gets done. And when I do this inside a company, what I almost always find is that a significant portion of the team's time isn't going to their core work. It's going to workarounds. Let me tell you about Joe. Joe works the front counter at a national auto parts distributor, 160 locations across the country. The new CEO comes in, walks the floor, sits down with Joe, and asks what would make his job easier. Joe doesn't miss a beat. He says, walkie-talkies, and the CEO says, okay, what would walkie-talkies do for you? Joe explains that when a customer comes in looking for a part, he looks it up on the computer, but he doesn't trust the inventory system to be right. So he walks all the way to the back of the warehouse to physically check the shelf every single time. If he had a walkie-talkie, someone in the back could check for him. Now, you and I can see the real problem here, right? It's not that Joe needs a walkie-talkie. It's that the inventory system isn't trustworthy. And Joe, being a great employee, a resourceful guy, figured out a workaround. Multiply that interaction by the hundreds of decisions Joe makes every day. Multiply it by 160 locations. That an enormous amount of productive capacity being consumed by a system problem that management probably doesn't even know exists. So here's the question for you. Where are your people working around your systems instead of through them? Because that gap right there is where a significant portion of your missing capacity is hiding. Number 2, standardize your process to your best performer, not your average one. This one is so simple, I almost hesitate to say it, but I've seen it produce dramatic results. We did work inside a chocolate manufacturing plant. Our client made and packaged chocolate bars for national brands. They had 12 people doing the same packing job, and every one of those 12 people had developed their own method over the years. We observed all 12, and we noticed that one of them consistently outpaced everyone else. We standardized the process to that person's method. That's it. Same people, same equipment, same plant. The cost to produce chocolate dropped from 8 cents a pound to 2.5 cents a pound, a 68% reduction. Now ask yourself this, on every key process in your company, do you know who your best performer is? And have you made their method the standard? Or is it just their personal secret? Because if you haven't, every shift that runs below that standard is leaving throughput on the table. And in a tight labor market, you can't afford that. Number 3, focus your best people on your most profitable work. This one is a game changer, and almost no one does it deliberately. Here's the pattern I see over and over. A company has, let's say, 500 customers, and 1,000 products. They treat all of them roughly the same. A CEO came to us after an acquisition had pushed his SKU count from 300 to 3,000 products. He was thinking about hiring more planners. We segmented the business, and here's what we found. 9% of his customers and 8% of his SKUs were driving 89% of his sales. The answer wasn't more planners. The answer was focus. His team now spends their time and energy on that vital few. The rest get managed on autopilot, set inventory levels, longer lead times, higher prices to compensate for the complexity. Number 4, stop the pricing leakage that's making everyone work harder than necessary. Here's one that stings a little because it's invisible until it isn't. A company hired us to figure out why there was a double-digit gap between their gross sales and their net sales. Management strategy actually got executed. Net margins improved by more than 3 percentage points for a company with a 10% EBITDA margin. That improvement generated a 21% increase in EBITDA. No new hires, no new equipment, revenue they were already earning that was leaking out the side door. Number 5, get more throughput out of the assets you already own. A seafood company landed major retail accounts at Sam's Club and Costco. Their volume doubled overnight. They didn't build a new plant. We fixed things, rebalanced the staffing plan, and within weeks, they had a 50% increase in output. Number 6, reduce the working capital that's draining your cash and consuming your team's attention. Inventory is capital. Every dollar sitting on a shelf is a dollar that isn't in your pocket. I've seen companies increase inventory turns dramatically from 15 turns a year to over 24. That kind of improvement frees up real cash. Number 7, measure what matters and close the loop. A closed loop system is simple. You predict what you're going to produce, you measure what you actually produce, you look at the gap, and you take corrective action. Think about a football game. The last 2 minutes always take 15 minutes of clock time because coaches are managing every second based on the scoreboard. So here's the bottom line. When hiring is hard, the answer is almost never. Wait, the answer is look harder at the operation you already have. There is value sitting in your business right now that you haven't found yet, just like Jed's oil. Thanks for watching. Now go find your oil. If you want to go deeper, visit shockingprofit.com or call the ProAction group at 312-726-6111. Let's find your oil.